Whew, life has been crazy lately, and now I have 2 videos to film back to back in this hot-ass room, so I don't want to waste too much time on this one. Let's just jump right in, because this is a big one. Welcome back to I Want to Talk About, the series where I take a topic, I sit on camera, and I blabber about it. And as you can tell from the title, today, I want to talk about the Xbox Game Showcase for 2024. You know it, we are in not E3 season, the time of year where it's usually E3, but this time around there is none because E3 has been canceled. However, we still get gaming events, some big ones, to know about what games are coming out. I made a video recently on the PlayStation State of Play that happened, which, wasn't so great. And then there was also Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest show, of course. You know how that goes. It's a Jeff Keighley showcase. It's a bunch of games across like 2 hours, and you probably remember like 2 of them by the end of it. But now we have the Xbox Game Showcase. This is a big one, of course, because Xbox is one of the big console publishers. And they always hold a show around this time of year. Last year they did it, and I made a video on that. And I remember actually enjoying that show, and I notably said a couple times in that video that the showcase actually made me feel a little more comfortable about the future of Xbox. But in the time since, Xbox basically did everything but make me comfortable about the future of Xbox. I mean, in the time since, Starfield finally came out, but it seemed like the reception was a little bit disappointing to that. I don't typically play Bethesda Game Studios games, but I played it myself and wasn't that big on it. And ever since then, a lot of the news that I've been hearing is about Xbox games going multi-platform and what that means for Xbox's future, if they're potentially going to go third-party or something like that, whether they're going to continue even making consoles, games launching in digital-only versions, Xbox basically getting rid of physical media at this point, which is very worrying for a lot of people. And then, of course, the giant elephant in the room of so many developers that are owned by Xbox going through layoffs and getting closed down. Even some big developers like Arcane Austin, who last year released Redfall, which I know wasn't as well received, but they're also well known for making Prey. And even a company like Tango Gameworks, who made what I believe was one of last year's best games in Hi-Fi Rush, was not safe. They closed down too. So with all the bad stuff coming from Xbox in the past few months, this show had a giant weight on its shoulders. It needed to do a lot. It needed to show gamers that Xbox is going to be fine, that there's going to be plenty to play, that Game Pass is going to continue to be packed, perhaps even be more packed. And of course, I went in a little skeptical, though I was at least a tiny bit excited because I heard some insiders saying it was going to be a very good show. I still had my skepticisms, but I was just hoping for the best. I was just hoping for the show to do something, and it did more than something. I will go as far as to say, fully honestly, I think this is the best showcase that Xbox has ever done, and probably one of the best big gaming showcases in a pretty long time. Genuinely, I think that this show really fired on all cylinders, and, you know, that's why when I say that it's the best show Xbox has done, I don't mean that as a backhanded compliment or anything like that. Like, this was genuinely a really great show from top to bottom, with very few things I can really complain about, if any. I mean, yeah, the show did start off with Call of Duty Black Ops 6. That's quite a way to jump into the games. Usually I let you know that I have a script here. But yes, they started with Black Ops 6, which obviously is a big deal of a game because whether you like Call of Duty or not, it's the highest selling game every year. And now that Activision is owned by Xbox, they're going to take every opportunity to remind you that they have COD now. So they started by showing the game, and I will say the marketing behind it is certainly creative. I do like the political advertisements and the way that it's tying into the fact that the game will take place in the Gulf War and things like that. I really like that, and apparently from what I've read, the game's been in development for 4 years, which is pretty massive to think because of the whole yearly release cycle. Generally, it doesn't seem like COD games get that long of a development cycle, so it's pretty crazy to think that this one has taken 4 years and all. I still just can't say I care too heavily because it's Call of Duty. I'll give the game a shot, but it's not like I'm jumping for joy at the thought of playing the game. With that said, it's coming out October 25th, and as you guys may have already heard the giant news before this showcase even happened, Black Ops 6 is going to be a day one title on Xbox Game Pass, which is huge. Obviously, it's a bit of a make or break moment for subscription services in gaming, because if a game as big as this isn't going to sell people on a subscription service, what will? But still, it's pretty massive, whether you like Call of Duty or not, that a game of this scale, that this many people play, that is so popular, is coming day one to Xbox Game Pass. That's giant. So yeah, I'll probably give the game a shot when it does come to Game Pass. After that, Phil Spencer showed up a little and he used his favorite word, creative. That guy still owes me money for that. But then we got into another first-person shooter, one that I was far more excited to see than Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We got to take a look at Doom: The Dark Ages. Hell yes! I was hearing so many reports about a new Doom game being shown off, and you know, it made sense that there was going to be a new game because it's been about 4 years since Doom Eternal. But yes, in all the reports, this is the game I was really most looking forward to seeing because I love the Doom series, especially the recent Doom games. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are among my favorite games of all time. So, of course, I was more than ready for a new game, and this trailer looked as awesome as I hoped, maybe even more awesome. It is kind of wild that this game is a prequel, apparently, but hey, when it comes to Doom, I don't follow the lore or anything like that. I'm here for the gameplay, I'm here to kill some demons, and the gameplay looks incredible. That new gun Doom guy was using with all the bullets that was firing super fast was really awesome, and that shield that like comes open and he like throws it and it slashes all the demons, come on man! That's so badass. It's awesome, and I'm super happy. The newer Doom games have been utterly incredible. I love them, and this looks like it's going to be another fantastic game. It's coming out sometime in 2025, and apparently it's going to be a day one Game Pass game. I mean, why do I say apparently? Bethesda is owned by Microsoft. Of course it's going to be a day one Game Pass game. Though I did see, and this kind of plays into that whole case-by-case basis thing that they were talking about with Bethesda and Activision games. It will not be exclusive to Xbox, it's still coming out on PlayStation 5 next year as well. So if you have a PlayStation, you're not going to be missing out on the game. Honestly, no matter where it's at, I'm going to be playing it because I love Doom. The past few games have been awesome. Very excited for this new one. After that, we got a bit of a surprise. The next game that they showed off was State of Decay 3. Holy crap, it actually exists. I had been hearing so much talk about this game's development going pretty poorly or being a little rough, but now it's finally here, and we even got a little bit of gameplay shown off as well. I mean, granted, I was hearing before the show some leaks were claiming that there was going to be a trailer of some kind, but even still, it's pretty awesome, and it's cool to see that there was some kind of gameplay. Granted, it looked like it was pretty scripted gameplay, but nevertheless, it's more than what we've gotten in the last 4 years. The last time that we saw this game was the 2020 showcase, so seeing it at all now was honestly pretty great. I don't have much history with State of Decay. I played like the tiniest bit of State of Decay 2 just for like a Game Pass reward or something like that. What's there in this trailer looks pretty cool. It might not end up being a super mind-blowing game. I know that the first two weren't crazy mind-blowing, but I'm just happy to see that the game is still trucking along through development and seems to be making some pretty good progress. There's no release date right now, but obviously since it's a first-party Xbox game, of course it's coming day one to Game Pass, and I know when it does, that's going to be exciting to a lot of people. And speaking of games that I was surprised to see because I was thinking, oh my god, I can't believe that still exists and that it's actually here, we then got to take a look at Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Formerly, it was known as Dragon Age Dreadwolf, but obviously they changed the name. I don't play the series, so I wouldn't know why. I'm sure someone who is a bigger Dragon Age fan than myself could explain in the comments, but yes, this was another moment of, holy crap, it actually exists. Again, I had been hearing about this new Dragon Age game for a very long time, so I'm happy to see that it finally resurfaced, even if it was just a fully CGI trailer with no gameplay. Again, I've never really been into the Dragon Age series, so this was never going to be for me, but I hope others are excited about it, because I know it's a bit hard to trust BioWare these days, given that their last few games have gone pretty wrong. So in that case, I understand if people are iffy, but I'm hoping for the best for this game. And supposedly it's coming out this fall, which is really surprising to me, and perhaps even a little bit of a yellow flag for those of you who are skeptical about BioWare, because it's coming out this fall and they showed no gameplay, so I don't know, but hey, I know Dragon Age is a well-liked series and I'm sure a lot of people are excited to see this, so I'm happy for you guys. Then we got into a couple smaller things, nothing too crazy. The first thing that we saw was Starfield Shattered Space, which is the new DLC expansion, I believe. Like I said earlier, I played some of Starfield since it was on Game Pass, and it really wasn't my thing. I do love the visual design of this expansion. There's plenty of color, and I mean, the DLC is probably pretty cool if you're into the game, but again, I'm not, so it was never really going to do anything for me. But it's coming out 2024, and some other new content came to the game right after the show. Again, I'm filming this just a few hours after the show ended, but it'll probably go up a couple days later. many of you are probably already playing with some of the new stuff. There were some new weapons, locations, some bounties, some custom content apparently. So hopefully if you're playing with that now, you're having some fun with it. And speaking of Bethesda updates, we then got to look at a trailer for Fallout 76 Skyline Valley. Yeah, I think at this point, if you saw my video on last year's showcase, you probably already know how I feel about Fallout 76, and just you probably know that I don't play Bethesda Game Studios games like that, or at all, really. Other than Starfield, the only other one that I played was Skyrim in VR. The trailer itself for this expansion was really clever, and I like how the marketing was kind of live action with black and white and stuff like that. But yeah, this game isn't my thing, so a trailer like this was also never really going to be my thing. But it's coming out June 12th, which again, even though I'm filming this video on June 9th, a couple hours after the show ended, by the time it gets uploaded, it might already be June 12th, so you guys will probably be playing it already. If you are, I hope you're having fun with it. And apparently they also mentioned something about in early 2025 you will be able to play as a ghoul. Again, I don't know Fallout 76, so I don't know if that's hype or not, but it's something. Then we got to look at a indie game, one of many in the show, and I just want to point this out. I was trying to look up some of the developers of these games to see what their libraries were, and when I looked on Steam at least, a lot of them were pretty empty. So I believe a lot of these games are debut titles. However, if they're not, please correct me on the comments if they've made other games before these. And I'll probably repeatedly say I believe this is the debut game just to be sure. But the next game we saw was S.T.A.L.K.E.R Expedition 33. I hope I said that right. Which again, I believe is the debut title from Sandfall Interactive, and it's being published by Kepler Interactive, who published Sifu, which was an amazing game. And they're publishing another game that was shown later on in the show that we'll get to. Visually, this game looks stunning. The gameplay is very turn-based, which isn't usually my thing, but the scale of it seems pretty epic, and it is cool for what it is. I like how aesthetically pleasing it is, and I'm sure it's going to end up being a fun game. It's just not really up my alley, and I'm sure we'll have more time to see it because it's not coming till 2025, but on the good end of things, it's going to be a day one Game Pass game, so whether it's up my alley or not, I'll have the chance to play it when it eventually drops. The joys of being a Game Pass subscriber. Right back onto the first party front, we then got to look at South of Midnight, which was a game we did see last year. Again, the newest title from Compulsion Games, who's owned by Xbox. Last year we got some in-engine footage, cutscene type stuff, and this year we got to actually see some full-blown gameplay. The art style of this game is fantastic already. I was very pleased by it when I saw it last year, and looking at the gameplay, it looks pretty cool. It is a third-person action-adventure type game, and it looks like a very familiar one, but I think the use of magic within the combat makes it feel pretty fun and interesting. I like how smooth it all looks, and I think it looks like it's going to be a great game. It's coming out in 2025, and again, being a first-party Xbox game, it's going to be a Day 1 Game Pass title, which is excelente. I can't wait to try it out myself. After that, we got to take a look at World of Warcraft: The War Within, a new expansion for World of Warcraft. Again, I know how wildly popular World of Warcraft is. I just have never really played it myself. My only memories that I have of it are sitting on my cousin's lap watching him play it. And again, an all CGI trailer for an expansion to World of Warcraft was never really going to do anything for me personally. But I am happy for the fans, even though it's fuck Blizzard. I will also say that the trailer did go on a touch too long, but that was probably one of the only trailers that was shown here that I felt lingered at all. Most of the stuff that to me was kind of like, didn't really linger, which is nice, so it helped with the pacing of the show. It's coming August 26th on PC only, which that part's not surprising. I'm not bringing that up because I'm like, oh my god, World of Warcraft's only on PC, what? I think it's more surprising to me because I think this is the first time in a recent Xbox showcase that they showed a game that's not coming to consoles. So, I don't know. That was pretty interesting. More interesting, though, was the next game they showed, which was Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Kind of wild to me that this was actually revealed at a PlayStation showcase, and now we're seeing it at an Xbox showcase. Funny how that works out. But yeah, we got to get some gameplay of this game, and I'll admit, I've mentioned it in many videos that Metal Gear Solid is not my series. I don't really play it. I don't know it super well. But the gameplay here does look really good. And honestly, I can see this even being a game that I'd actually want to play, even as someone who doesn't really have experience with the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Because, admittedly, I've been incredibly worried about how they were going to handle this game with presumably no input from Hideo Kojima, because Of course, he's not going to go near Konami with a 25.5-foot pole at this point. But it seems like they're doing a really good job with it, and I liked what I saw of the gameplay, so color me intrigued for this one. Even as a non-MGS fan, I'm definitely curious. No release date was given, but I've read that it's supposed to be coming out this year, so that's exciting. I don't know if that's actually going to come true or not, but I guess we'll see. Speaking of C, this is a terrible transition, but the next thing we saw was Sea of Thieves. Sorry, that was god-awful, but I'm keeping it in the video because of course I am. But yeah, you know the drill. It's not an Xbox show if they don't remind you that Sea of Thieves is a game that they own. I will say this much, even as someone who doesn't play Sea of Thieves, the fact that Sea of Thieves is at Season 13 at this point is definitely really impressive, given especially how the game launched. I remember when it came out, it seemed like people weren't that crazy about it, or I don't know if it was buggy or what, but it seemed like the launch was not as good as it could have been. So it's great to see that the game has gotten this far and has continued to live this long. But this trailer was a little less exciting to me because it felt more like it was just a quick reminder. Sometimes these Sea of Thieves trailers that they show at Xbox shows are a little more exciting to me if they have like a kooky crossover like Monkey Island or Pirates of the Caribbean. But this year's show didn't have that, so whatever. But yeah, the new season is coming July 25th. I'm sure some of you are more interested in that than I am, and I hope you have fun with it. After that, we got to take a look at Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, the newest title from A44 Games, the developer of Ashen, and it's also the other game that's being published by Kepler Interactive. I mentioned that earlier. It's a third-person action RPG with some gameplay that does look pretty cool. Tons of badass action was shown off here, and again, it doesn't seem like it's going to be the most boundary-pushing thing, but I am definitely interested in trying it out. It looks like it's going to be really fun, and I think that's the ultimate point. Not every game needs to be boundary pushing as long as it's fun. And this one's apparently coming very soon because it's coming out July 18th. And again, I believe this was already confirmed, but they reiterated, of course, that it's going to be a day one Game Pass game. So that's pretty cool. I'll try it out when it drops on Game Pass. Moving on from there, we saw Age of Mythology Retold, a new remake of the 2002 spin-off of the Age of Empires series. It's funny because I don't know anything about Age of Empires, but when I saw the title, I just thought, I'm pretty sure that's related to Age of Empires, and after looking it up, I was right. Again, though, it's a strategy game. Strategy games are not really my kind of thing. I don't play them very much. It's cool for what it is, though, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who are far more excited about this than I am, and it's something to look forward to in the back end of the year because it's coming out September 4th, and once more, like many games here, it's coming day one to Game Pass, so that'll give you something to look forward to. But after that, we got into what I think may have been the most exciting thing about the show, and something I'm really looking forward to, and I can't believe I actually am getting to talk about it right now. We got to get another look at Perfect Dark. This I honestly kind of screamed at when I saw it because, again, much like State of Decay 3, Perfect Dark was a game I thought I was hearing a lot of development troubles about, so I wasn't sure when or if we were ever going to see it. Especially because, unlike State of Decay 3, there were no real leaks beforehand saying, oh yeah, it's going to be there. But as soon as I saw the Initiative and Crystal Dynamics' logos, I was like, what? I screamed because I was like, Perfect Dark, it's back? We're actually seeing it? I was genuinely really surprised and really excited. I mean, I'm not the biggest Perfect Dark fan in the world, but last year, after years of trying, I finally beat the first Perfect Dark game, and I did enjoy it, even though I didn't really enjoy Perfect Dark Zero very much, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Even with that, I've been looking forward to seeing Perfect Dark come back ever since I first heard that it was coming back at the Game Awards in 2020. And from the gameplay they showed here, that's another thing, there was actual gameplay here, which was awesome, and it genuinely looks awesome. A part of me does wonder if the visuals are going to be downgraded when the game comes out, because this just looks too beautiful. I mean, the visuals are utterly mind-blowing, but I'm just going to take the hopeful route and imagine that it's going to be good because I was just so excited to see it, and it does genuinely look like a great modernization of Perfect Dark. Sadly, there was no release date given, which kind of stinks, but again, we know it's coming day one to Game Pass because it's a first-party Xbox game, and I can't wait to play it myself. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. A little bit smaller thing after that, we got to take a look at Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred, another cinematic CGI trailer for an expansion to a game that I care not for. Take a wild guess how I feel. I actually got to play some of Diablo 4 because it was on Game Pass. It was my first time actually playing a Diablo game. But again, those kind of games aren't really for me, so this didn't change my mind. And sure, the visuals in this trailer are beautiful, but like, come on, the visuals in every CGI trailer for a game that looks nothing like the CGI trailer are beautiful. So yeah, this wasn't for me, but I know it's exciting to other people, so that's great, and it's coming out October 8th, so hopefully that'll give you something to look forward to. Just like the next game back on the Xbox Game Studios front, I was going to say first party, but technically Blizzard's first party. Nevertheless, we got to get another look at Fable. God, after years of not hearing about it, it's nice to actually say again that we got another look at Fable. And this time we actually got some gameplay, even if it was just a tiny bit and it was probably pretty scripted anyway. But yeah, it looks good from what was shown. And I do like in the cinematics how humorous the game is going to be. But again, I still feel like I need to see more of the gameplay first. I'm sure the game is going to play well, but guys, I just recently played and beat Hellblade 2, which felt like it had zero gameplay whatsoever. And there was a point during the trailer where I thought of Hellblade 2, so pardon me for being worried. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure I'm just overthinking it, but still, I'd like to see a more full-length, uninterrupted gameplay demo before I make a proper judgment. Because again, I don't have the strongest experience with Fable, so hell if I know. But still, I am excited. It's coming out 2025, which is great to know we have a release window, and obviously as a first-party Xbox game, it's going to be a day one title in Game Pass. Excellent news. Not that's news, we already knew that, but still. After that, we got into what was the low light of the show for me, and it's probably the only real low light. Even the other stuff that I didn't really care about didn't look that bad. But yeah, we got to look at Fragpunk, which I believe is the debut title from a new developer called Bad Guitar Studio. My first thought when I saw this game was, what is this bleeding edge looking live service game? I know it's not actually going to be bleeding edge, but that was just my first thought when I saw the visuals. Sorry Xbox, you were doing great up to this point, but this, like I said, was the low light, and there was almost no way you were going to ever sell me on a game like this. It's another free-to-play 5v5 hero shooter, and those are slowly becoming one of my least favorite combinations of words. Like, yeah, thank God it's free, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be anything that interesting to me. Again, I'll probably try it out, and I'm sure there's going to be more time to get a look at it because it's not coming till 2025. But right now, yeah, I'm not really looking forward to it all that much. But moving on from there, we got to look at Winterborough, which I believe is the debut title from new developer Pine Creek Games. It's a very storybook-looking game, starring a mouse protagonist in like a top-down kind of style. It looks very cute. It has a very relaxed, casual look to it. I did even see when I was on Steam that one of the genres listed for it was casual. Again, it's probably one of those games that I'm going to need to get a longer look at, but it looks very cute. It's coming early 2025, and again, say it with me if you want to, it's a day one Game Pass title. Game Pass is really looking loaded right now. Then we got to take a look at Mixtape, a new game from developer Beethoven and Dinosaur, the team behind The Artful Escape, which I did try when it came to Game Pass. Wasn't really my kind of thing, though again, artful is certainly the right word to describe that game because it's very pretty. And this game looks very pretty too. It's got a cool looking Spider-Verse-esque aesthetic. I know it's kind of lazy to call a lot of the animation like that Spider-Verse-like, but it's just what it kind of reminded me of. Watching the trailer, though, a part of me did wonder what in the world was gameplay and what wasn't. Like, yes, I know when it switched from a cutscene to gameplay, but there was a part of me that was just like, how interactive is this game truly going to be? Obviously, the focus is going to be more than likely on the story as opposed to the gameplay, but I hope it ends up being fun to play. Still, the aesthetic is utterly incredible, the 80s soundtrack is awesome, and if this game does nothing else, I feel like it's going to be a great vibe. And I'm excited to see the vibe. It's coming in 2025. Again, let's say it together. It's a day one title on Xbox Game Pass. So I will definitely give it a shot when it comes around. Couple smaller things up next. We got to take a look at Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Yep. This is the one. I'm being sarcastic, sorry, but obviously, yeah, this kind of game is super impressive technologically speaking, but it's not something I really care much for. I played the previous Flight Simulator game and it didn't really do much for me, so, you know, I don't think this one's going to do much more. If anything, it reminded me, hey, wait a minute, Xbox went through this entire show this year without telling anything about Forza. How about that? No Halo and no Forza at a show. I figured we weren't going to get any new Halo, but still, going without Halo and Forza. How about it? And actually having such a good showcase. How about it? But yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is coming out November 19th. It's a first-party Xbox game, so of course it's coming day one to Game Pass. If you're excited for it, I'm happy for you. Me, I'm not really that interested. And then we gotta look at the Elder Scrolls Online Gold Road. Again, I know at this point with Xbox shows, it's not an Xbox show if they don't remind us about the Elder Scrolls Online. And I don't play Elder Scrolls Online, so this was never going to do anything for me. I'll say it's impressive that the game's gone on for 10 years at this point, but otherwise, nothing about this was going to make me spring out and go play the game or anything like that. Though, I'll give the trailer this much. The fact that they used We Belong by Pat Benatar in the trailer was pretty awesome. That's an incredible song. But the Gold Road expansion comes out June 18th, so yeah, very soon after this video drops, and hopefully if you play the game, you're looking forward to it. Starting to get to the back end of the show where things get really, really exciting as well. The next thing that we looked at was Life is Strange Double Exposure. I don't really know a whole lot about Life is Strange. I know it's hella popular. I've even had some people recommend it to me, but it's not really in my wheelhouse. I know this game is not made by the same developer that made the original Life is Strange, Don't Nod, but just as a comparison, I did play Don't Nod's game Tell Me Why, so I'm kind of familiar with their style at least a little bit. Though again, this one's being made by Deck9, who seems to be the new people behind Life is Strange at this point. Again, though, not usually in my wheelhouse. I'm sure it's going to be a game that is going to be good and people who enjoy the style of game are going to like it, but it's just not my usual thing. If anything, I think I saw on Twitter that a lot of people were happy that the protagonist from the first game was back, so that's nice. And it's coming out October 29th, which is this year, of course, and that's a holiday season type game, so that's double nice. And you know what else was nice? The next game that they showed off. I promise I'm not just going to keep saying noise like that, but the next game they showed off, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game was shown earlier in the year at a smaller Xbox event, but they obviously wanted to show it again. And even as someone who's not really into Indiana Jones, I know, strike me down, this is a game that I'm genuinely looking forward to, because it's being handled by Machine Games, who I love Machine Games. The Wolfenstein games they've been making have been awesome, and what they showed of this game looks great. I think the fact that it switches between first and third person is probably going to end up being a little disorienting, but Machine Games does really great work, so I trust them in this case. A lot of what they showed here was a cutscene, but the gameplay they showed did look genuinely cool, and I just love the idea of getting to whip Nazis with a bullwhip. If there is one thing that Machine Games does incredibly well, it is make games that say, fuck Nazis. Also, holy shit, this box art for the game is genuinely incredible. Like, this looks awesome. Big kudos to the artists who designed this. This goes hard. No exact date was given, but it's coming out sometime this year, and obviously as Bethesda is owned by Xbox, it's a day one Game Pass title, and you can bet I will be playing it when it comes to Game Pass. A few more small games to talk about. Next, we got to look at Mecha Break, which, again, I believe is a debut game from new developer Amazing Season. It's not spelled season. It's a Gundam-esque game, which is a style I feel like I see so often these days. I feel like I just saw a Gundam-style game at the Summer Game Fest. But this one does look pretty cool. The action seems pretty epic, and the gameplay itself looks super fast-paced. I'm a little upset that it seems to be a multiplayer-only game, but I understand that a title like this probably works best in that style. Not that Gundam-type games wouldn't be interesting in single player, but obviously the multiplayer part would be more fun. There's a beta coming this August, and the full game is coming out in 2025, so if you're looking forward to it, there you go. Moving on from there, we got to look at Wuchang Fallen Feathers, a new game from Lindsay Games, the developers of a VR game known as AD 2047. This one is not VR, of course. It's a Souls-like game set in the era of China's Ming Dynasty. It's got some cool looking action, and I do love the very dark aesthetic it's got going for it too. I will admit I'm a bit burnt out by Souls-likes recently, because you know, there's just so many of them at this point, but this one does look pretty cool. So I hope it does turn out good, especially from a smaller developer. I'm rooting for them to have a big showing with this one. And it's coming out in 2025 as a day one title on Game Pass, so no matter how good or bad it is, I'll give it a shot myself. From there, back on the first party front, we got to look at Avowed. We finally got to see this game again last year, and now this year we saw it again, of course. I don't usually play Obsidian's games, but this one looks pretty sweet. The magic aesthetic is awesome, and based on what I saw of the gameplay in the trailer here, it looks like this is going to be far more linear than some of their other games, which I'm honestly okay with, because I tried several times to play the Outer Worlds, but I just couldn't get into it, and I think one of the reasons I struggled with it was because it was so big and the exploration was a bit much for me. I understand for a lot of people the exploration is a great part, but for me it was just a little much. So I'm here for Obsidian trusting themselves and going for something a little more linear, not trying to expand a game too far beyond its reach. So that's pretty awesome, and apparently it's coming out sometime this year, obviously as a day one Game Pass title because it's a first party game, so that's freaking sweet. Can't wait to try it myself. Next up, we got to look at Atomfall, a new game from Rebellion Developments, the team behind the Sniper Elite series. Though this looks very different from the typical blend of styles that Sniper Elite tends to go for, being more like a survival action game of sorts set in 1950s England. It looks cool though. In the trailer, there's a particular moment where the player character whacks someone with what looks like a two-sided panel of some sort, and that was honestly pretty hilarious to me. There's a lot going on with the gameplay in this, and I really like it. It's coming out sometime in 2025, and it's gonna be a day one game on Game Pass. I'm gonna have a lot to play, judging by this show. Now we're getting to the end of the show, but we got some really exciting ones. The next game that we got to look at was Assassin's Creed Shadows. I know I said in my video on the PlayStation State of Play recently that I'm starting to get a little bit tired of samurai games just because there's so many of them, but I can't lie, this actually looks pretty good. And I'm no Assassin's Creed fan. Not at all, actually. I've never even played an Assassin's Creed game. But this looks really good. At first, I didn't even think it was Assassin's Creed. It wasn't until my brother pointed out, oh, that's Assassin's Creed, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, if it comes out right, maybe it might actually be the first time that I play an Assassin's Creed game, because it does genuinely look that fun. We'll have to wait and see, but it's coming out November 15th this year, so that's something to look forward to in the back end of the year. Nice little holiday game. From there, we finally got to get another look at a game I've been really looking forward to, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl. First and foremost, I'm just glad to see that this game is finally coming soon. A lot of you may know this, but even though we had been hearing about S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 for years now, and it was previously shown at the Xbox Showcase in 2021, the game has not been able to come out because the developer of the game, GSC Game World, is based in Ukraine, where obviously there's a war going on, so the devs have basically had to flee the country and simultaneously make sure that their families and friends and loved ones are safe. I believe some developers even went to fight in the war, a few of whom unfortunately did not make it, RIP. So I'm happy for their tenacity that they've still been able to work on the game, make it happen, despite the fact that their lives were completely upended and there was something even bigger that they had to worry about. And the gameplay looks truly awesome here. It's looked awesome ever since I first saw the game in 2021, and I'm glad to see that even with everything going on, it still looks fantastic. I hope the developers have been able to keep safe and keep healthy throughout everything, and I can't wait to finally experience this for myself. Also, I never played the first S.T.A.L.K.E.R, but I know it got a remaster recently, and I might have to grab that before playing this one. And I might have to act fast, because this is coming September 5th, and it's a Day 1 Game Pass title, which means I'm gonna be jumping all over it. Then they showed off some new Xbox Series X and S variants. There's an all-digital white Series X for $450, a 1TB Series S for $350, and a Galaxy Black 2TB Series X for $600. First of all, ew to an all-digital Series X. But the controller for that Galaxy Black Series X looked nice. It's like black, but the handles are green, and I think that blend is pretty awesome. I presume they're dropping this holiday season, so if you don't have an Xbox Series X and you want one, here's an option, or if you want a Series S, that too. And when Sarah Bond was announcing this, she also mentioned a pretty light line, maybe even a throwaway line, saying Xbox is hard at work on the next generation, which indicates, of course, that another console is in the works. This has been rumored for a bit. I think they even kind of said that recently, but it's official now, and obviously it seems fairly quick given that it feels like the Series X just came out. Granted, 2020 was 4 years ago, but okay, at least we know they're still going to be making consoles. But then we had one last thing. Obviously, shows love doing the one last thing, and we had a pretty big one that was getting rumored a lot before the show, and we finally got it. Gears of War E-Day. Look, I know I just said in my 2006 video that I did on my favorite games of 2006 that I'm not a huge Gears of War fan. I tried the first game but couldn't get into it. But even as someone who's not a Gears fan, it's about damn time Gears made a comeback. I mean, the last big game, the last main game, was Gears 5, and that was 2019, and even despite that, the last Gears game that we got, period, was Gears Tactics in 2020. So yeah, it's kind of about time that we heard from the Gears series. Granted, an all CGI trailer was a little disappointing, but given that this is an established franchise, it's not as bad to use a CGI trailer. Again, if it was a new IP, I'd probably be a little more like, but you know. The thing that was most surprising to me, and it seems to a lot of other people, was it's a prequel, huh? I think I did see some people were pretty disappointed about it being a prequel because people wanted them to conclude the story from Gears 4 and 5, and I totally understand that, and I think that's valid as well. But even as a non-fan, I'm just happy to see this franchise back. It's been too long, and obviously this franchise is super important and big to Xbox and to Xbox players, so it's nice to see Marcus Phoenix making a comeback. There's still no release date. Again, given that we just saw a CGI trailer, I wouldn't be surprised if the game is relatively early in development. But of course, you know, because Gears is a trademark Xbox franchise, it's going to be a day one title on Game Pass, and I'm sure that's going to be a pretty huge one. Oh, but yeah, after the show, just like how last year they did a Starfield Direct after the show, they did do the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Direct, and much like the Starfield one, I can't lie, I skipped it. Very rarely do I follow single game showcases. Even with Nintendo Directs, the only single game Nintendo Directs that I ever really follow are the Smash ones, because of course I love Super Smash Bros. And it's COD, so I didn't really think I needed 25 minutes of showing me what the deal was with this new game. Eventually, I did go back before writing the script to kind of skim through and see what was going on. And, I mean, yeah, it seemed kind of cool from the gameplay they showed, but, I mean, like I said, it's Call of Duty. How excited can I truly get? The only reason this one is any more exciting to me than the other COD games is because it's coming to Game Pass on day one, so I'll be able to play it as soon as it drops. Not ready for how much room it's going to take up on my Xbox, though. But overall, wow. Xbox came correct with this show, and I am very, very, very impressed. Especially given all the bad news that's been coming out about Xbox, this show was insanely good. Just so many games, just banger after banger after banger. And it was so well paced too. Not a lot of talking in between or anything like that, just non-stop trailer after trailer after trailer that made it so fun. And it was always like they'd show a game and, oh my god, that's so sweet. Wait, there's more to show? Oh my god, that looks awesome. Like at one point in the show, I was genuinely worried that they blew the Perfect Dark announcement a little too early. And little did I know that we still had like an hour of show left before the Call of Duty Direct. And I'm also glad they showed a good amount of gameplay, and while they didn't show a crap ton of like release dates, there were more than enough release windows to at least make me feel like the lineup is going to be exciting, especially because they showed a lot of stuff across a lot of their different bubbles, the Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, Activision, third parties, and indies, so it really felt like they were firing on all cylinders across the board. And while I am dreading the inevitable price increase that will come to Game Pass when Call of Duty comes to it, the fact that so much of what was at this show is coming to Game Pass is incredible, and it really sweetens the deal. Like, obviously for the last few years, it's been a thing where a lot of the games they show at these showcases come to Game Pass, but it feels like this year that's an even bigger deal because the lineup looks so awesome. So having something like that is really incredible. All in all, yeah, Xbox really came correct with the show, and I think they did a really, really good job. I'm really happy with the show. Obviously, I've been kind of like getting super excited and nerding out throughout the show because it was genuinely great. It was a really fun show, a lot of awesome looking games, and suddenly, despite all the bad stuff and despite the fact that there's probably still a few worries here and there, because of course there are, it feels like a good time to be an Xbox fan. I figured a show like this would outdo the State of Play, but I didn't think it would run circles around it. It has absolutely done that. And if I had to give it a grade, yeah, I'd give it an A. That's my highest grade. I don't do A+ or A-. A is my highest grade, and yeah, I can give this show my highest grade because even with, you know, maybe Fragpunk being a little less exciting, there was so much good stuff here that I can't help but give it my highest possible score. This was a great showcase. Xbox really did a damn good job, and I'm excited. There's a lot to play, a lot I'm looking forward to playing, and yeah, it seems really exciting. It seems like the next year or so is going to be a fun time for Xbox. I can't wait to see it happen. But of course, that's all just my opinion. What did you guys think of the show? Did you love it as much as I did? Maybe even more than I did? Did you hate it way more than I did? Were you just completely indifferent toward it? And what was your game of show? I mentioned that Perfect Dark was probably my favorite game of the show, but what about you guys? And was there anything that you didn't see that you were expecting to see? Like any kind of games that like you were hoping would be there but weren't? Because for me, I feel like there wasn't really anything I could think of, but if you had any snubs, let me know. Whatever your thoughts and opinions are, leave them down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe and support some of my other ventures that I have linked in the description, thank you. If not, it's no big deal, I totally understand. And yeah, after I finish this video, I'm going to record my favorite games of 2007 video, but I'm going to take a minute because I've been filming this video for 51 minutes according to my camera, and the battery's a little low, so I need to charge it and also get the AC running a little bit in this room so it's not crazy stupid hot. But yes, 2007 video is coming next, so stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.